Hey guys, James from the Boss Upstairs. Just was looking for my wife and I saw smoke. I saw smoke. And where there's smoke, there's usually my wife. Oh yeah, where there's smoke, there's usually my wife. So, let's see if my wife is out here. And there's my wife and there's the smoke. Found. Mystery solved. Look at the skies. I got to tell you guys something, that even though the name of this channel is The Boss Upstairs, by no means do I mean me or anyone in our family. We are Christians and we name the channel after the Lord because the Lord provides and He blesses us with what I'm showing you right now. Guys, here we are. I usually don't come out this time of the day and do videos because I'm usually up at 2 or 3 in the morning starting my day. But I don't know, something compelled me to come out here right now when I saw the smoke. So coming out to the Philippines, is it for you? Well, I think for most of you who are going through that syndrome of just working, coming home, probably it's for you. Now, where in the Philippines is the trick? Okay. But I got a ticket the very next day because this was an emergency travel. And, you know, she went in there and did old school. This girl had basically embezzled like 2 of the 3 bank accounts that had all of our payroll money, and then it ended up, you know, where, yeah, it cost us a little bit of money because of what happened. Of course, you know, like $250,000 in legal fees. So, but look, the Philippines is much different in the sense that you can actually come out here and you will see smiling faces, and especially for you guys, for you men, you're going to see women that will smile at you. You know, just don't come out and do anything stupid, right? You'll see some YouTube videos where, you know, foreigners do that. They'll get involved in, you know, getting drunk and starting fights and doing things like that. And is it the perfect place? No, there is no perfect place on earth. There is. I'm just saying that, you know, there were times, you know, in my life when, yeah, I took pleasure in people's pain. Yeah, I think they think they're so hot. They got this, they got that, you know. Yeah, that's not good. It really isn't. There you go. It's a little bit getting in there, huh? Yeah. Look at that. Start of a fire. Fire! Whoa! Ah, there we go. Look. We're burning with fuel now. Say hi, Tom Tom. Yeah, say hi, Sushi. These are our perimeter guards. At night, we give them weapons to strap on to their bodies. Just joking, we don't do that. Anyway, this is my wife's typical day in the garden. Always cleaning, always weeding, always doing this stuff. And you know what? It grows back. I don't understand what's going on. But I thought I would give you a little bit of a walk today in her part of the world. And as you can see, there's smoke. So she gathers up the weeds and the trash. And since we're in an area where we don't have, you know, trucks coming to take our trash, what is that? Yeah, we don't have that, you know. So, and this is way overgrown back here. This is the back of our house. Yes, when there's smoke, there's fire. Yes, definitely. So this will tend to later. We have plans for the back here, though. We do. And as you can see, a lot of our house is unfinished. Wrapping is not done in certain areas, and it probably won't be for a while because budget just is not there, you guys. It is not there. It's just amazing. Sometimes I wake up in the mornings and, you know, you've seen some of the videos and you know that the Lord has provided for us. And we may not have a lot, but what we do have, a lot of people don't have. And we are so thankful. So thankful that we wanted to make sure we pay whatever tribute we can. And I know it's a small thing, but the boss upstairs, we're referring to him. Okay, we're referring to him. Not in nowhere we're referring to me or anybody here. So just wanted to get that clear, you guys. And I know a lot of you say, well, you know, you should put the word Philippines in your name of the channel. Yes, we could be the boss upstairs in the Philippines. You're right. You're right. But at the time, it just wasn't, the idea was only to think of him. And that's what we did. So, and it looks like it's going to rain here actually. And we got our highlights here today. Ooh. Sushi! 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 Okay. I don't think I caught that with Sushi jumping up there, but I thought the video was on, it wasn't. Anyway, so you guys, and I actually was watching another YouTube. I was watching Michael in that Philippines life, and I really enjoy his videos. I watch Michael a lot. I watch him and I watch Gio. Those are probably my two favorite channels that I watch. I watch others, you know, but I really like. In fact, we're going to go see Michael. My wife and I are going to go see him. We chatted a little bit. I think it was last month, and we just missed him. He was actually in Bacolod. He was in our area, and I really wanted to go meet with him. And yeah, we just didn't. It just didn't align up for either one of us. So, but we are going to go out to Rojas City. And it may be as early as next month. We'll see. Again, you know, budget dictates everything, you guys. So we run this channel on a budget, and people say, "Oh, it's free to have a YouTube channel." Yeah, not really. You know, we have just a little over 2,000 subscribers. We're a very small channel, nothing like Michael's, who just got 100,000 subscribers. Congratulations, Michael. You know. I don't know if we'll ever hit that number. I mean, we would love to, you know, we really would. But the important thing is we're bringing you information, we're bringing you experiences, we're bringing you things that that are valuable to you. So that's the main thing for us and for you too. I know people don't watch channels just strictly and purely, you know, for the host. Yeah, and I'm nothing to look at. So obviously, if you're watching this, you're not watching it for the host. Now, you guys look, these themed episodes are basically come out to the Philippines, okay? Come out, just try it, all right? I don't think you'll be disappointed. Now, some will be disappointed, but that's okay. You've experienced it and you left. No harm, no foul. You know what? It's a trip. It's if you can afford to travel, you're blessed. Most people can't. As I said before in my past videos, most people can only afford to go to work and come back home, you know, eat, and maybe every once in a while, you know, have a little bit of entertainment in their life, dinner, a show, dating, you know, or if you're married, you know, small experiences. And that's just how it is in the larger percentage of the households. That's just how it is, whether you're single or married. And it's a sad thing because this is a great, great world that the Lord has given us. And if we can't enjoy it, you know, it's very sad that we are stuck in this vicious cycle. Okay, where in the Philippines is going to be the trick about this, because there's a lot of different venues in the Philippines to please the appetite, okay, so to speak. But you have to try them. You have to try different ones, and that's the only way you're going to know. So some people will come out, and I've had comments, and I've had actually people that we've met that have come out and said, I didn't like the Philippines at all. Well, okay. I'm glad you figured that part out and you went back and you're trying different destinations, and that's great because the world has a lot to offer. You know, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, all these places, and then go to the EU. You know, you might like it there. Go to Canada, you might like it there. They all have something really nice to offer. Each one does everywhere around the whole world. But today I'm talking about the Philippines. because if you're watching this, you're most likely watching this to find out, hey, what's going on in the Philippines? Is it something that I could do? Is it viable? Can I do this? Yes, you most likely can, okay? It doesn't take $1 million to come out here. It doesn't take $10,000 to come out here, okay? I wouldn't recommend much less than that if you're moving here. But if you're coming to visit, not a problem. You got a few thousand, come on out. You can get tickets for, I've seen them as low as $384 round trip tickets, and that's insane. Now, I don't see those too often, but you can find them. Okay, you might have to wait a month or two. You might have to go to these different travel sites, and but you'll find one. I think the last time that I went back to the United States, as it's been a while, is 2022. I think it was June. Yeah, it was June 2022 was the last time I went back there. So it's been over 3 years since I've been back there. And that I had to do 2 months later. I landed in the Philippines, got married, and then found out that yeah, I needed to get back to the U.S. for a week or two to sort of tie up a loose end. Now, it's regarding a video that you guys probably have not seen because I had it on the channel, but I only had it on the channel for literally, I think maybe 48 hours, and I took it down, okay? And the reason was because it involved a partner, a business partner who I was very close to. She was like a daughter to me, okay, like a daughter. And I called her my daughter. I told everybody, this is my daughter. I introduced her as my daughter. My wife here in the Philippines, my wife now knew, she knew who she was. And she came out with me to the Philippines when I came out here to retire. She said, Dad, I want to come out there with you. So for those of you that haven't seen the video, I am not going to put it back up on the channel. I felt it was just too much exposure for her. I didn't want, even though she did something, that she shouldn't have done to our company, our healthcare company. And that's why when I left, I had to, in April of 2022, I had to go right back out in June to take care of it, wrap it up. And thank God, I was able to, okay? I was able to wrap it up with the help of my son's fiance at the time, who they lived in the United States. They still do. I say they're split now, but she helped me a great deal. I owe a lot to her. Her name is Tiara, and she knows it, and I've taken care of them for that. I told my wife, they really, really turned this whole thing around. I mean, I had lawyers on it and stuff like that, which, they did a great job. They really did. But she just went in there and just did it old school. Our nonprofit, our outreach funds in there, because we had outreaches planned for months and months and months in advance. Anyway, she met a guy who convinced her to do this, I guess. But you guys, I know she convinced herself too. She was an adult. She was a big girl. She didn't have to do this. In fact, she was employed by that organization, just like I had been. Then I retired, but yeah, she was employed, so she was comfortable. They were paying her rent, her housing in the U.S., everything. And I don't know. I just still to this day, nobody has all the answers, right? But it happened, and it was taken care of. So it was taken care of in a very nice way. We always say prayers for her still, and she did what she did, and whatever compelled her to do that, we don't know. But it's been over. It took about 2 years, to handle it and take care of it. But thank God, it went well. It didn't hurt her in any way. So it did. The company took a big hit because it wasn't a big company. So anyway, so that was an episode on there, that I had that we pulled down immediately. I just didn't feel right. Something in my gut told me, yeah, don't leave this up there. Despite at the time how I felt about her, I was angry. It just, something didn't feel right. And I know what it is, it's not what Christians do to each other, okay? So anyway, so getting back to the Philippines, you guys. So again, this type of living that you're seeing in the background of my camera is maybe not for you. And believe me, you have to be okay with it, right? You know, burning your trash, right? You know, when I lived in the United States, is you take your trash can out to the side of the curb, and then the trash truck comes once a week and picks it up, right? You know, the blue can, the green can, the purple can, whatever. You know, the recycle, the not recycle. Yeah, you guys, a lot of you know in the United States what I'm talking about, right? So, and even the big cities, the metro cities in Manila, like Manila, whatever, they all have that. It's the same sort of a theory. But, you know, if you want to still maintain some of your Western style life, yeah, it's not hard. You could find a city, and then you can move maybe 15, 20 minutes from that city to make it fit your budget. And that's the beautiful thing about the Philippines, okay? It can fit your budget. Now, this is the other beautiful thing about the Philippines, is the residency programs here and the length of stay programs and the way that the Philippines embraces people, especially from the United States, Canada, and a lot of different countries. So it's not like a lot of other countries, you guys. And I know people, oh, I want to go to Thailand, or I'm already in Thailand. I like Thailand a lot better. Absolutely, more power to you. That's great, because it's hard to find some place where you really like and you want to stay. So, and you might, like all this, you know, sometimes, we've been here 5, 10 years. They move on, you know, like Gio did. You know, he was here 9 years as an expat, did his show here in the Philippines, and he moved on to Thailand. But he comes back. He'll be back in the Philippines. He'll be doing his episodes here, you know. So that's just how it is. And there's nothing wrong with that, you know. I once said many years ago, when people ask me, so where do you want to live when you retire? I said, everywhere. Wherever I can go, I want to live, move on, live, move. Now, I don't see myself doing that now at 64 years old. Okay, I've done a lot of traveling, you know, and I've lived in a lot of spots in the United States, not around the countries and, you know, different countries and that, but this is my first retiring, you know, living out of the country of the United States that I've done. And I believe in my heart of all hearts, this will be the last spot for my wife and I. Now, my wife has been here her whole life. She's so used to living deep in the province, right? So this is good for her. She's fine with this. In fact, I just told her last night, because, you know, we have these 7 parcels over this fence that are currently, and we're processing the survey map. You know, we're going to be submitting for the subdivision, all that stuff. There's 7 small parcels that we're going to sell. And we're making them really affordable. This is not a plug to buy property, guys. I'm just letting you know this so you can get the experience out of this. They're 150 square meter parcels. That's small. Okay, you see those in like subdivisions and things like that. But these parcels are just under 300,000 pesos, and we're making it to where they can come in with like 140 some, like I think it's 149,000 pesos down. And they pay it over 3 years or to 5 years. It depends, you know, what they can afford. We want to make sure people can get in. And what they get for that is, you know, it's clean title. They're going to get the title to it, so they own it. It's not anything like out in the Philippines. They have a lot of leased land programs like CLOA. They have a lot of land that it's hard to title, and that's okay. You know, it's okay. And it's even okay for expats to do a long lease. You know, if you know, you're up there in years maybe, and like, look, you know, I'm not going to live another 20, 30, 40 years. So I'll just do a 15, 20-year lease, and then where it's renewable, you know, and then I can improve it. You know, then they take their own money that they would have spent on a beautiful, you know, a beachside home or on the water home, you know, at the beach or up in the mountains with a view of all the city lights. So they take that money, and instead they just improve the property that they're leasing long term, and boom, they got what they want. Makes sense, and it works, you guys. It works. You know, it's not something that we would do in the United States, I don't think, but it works here. Okay, so that's the main thing. It works here. For a lot of expats, it does work like that. So, but for us, no, we actually we bought land, we built homes on the land. And we either lived in it, like the one in the province we lived in. The other 2 properties we bought, we built homes on. One was for my tatay, you know, my father-in-law. and the other was for our nephew and his girlfriend, and they have a baby. They have two now, actually. So, you know, we shared whatever we can share, and to me, that's what you're supposed to do in life, you know. So, yeah, we don't have as much as we had then, but we shared what we had then, and we still have it, but someone else is getting the benefit from it, and that's okay. I still, wake up, like I said, every morning and go, wow, I can't believe that my wife and I are here, that my wife actually owns this property. Me as a foreigner, I'm her spouse. I've got, certain rights, to occupying it with her and this and that. So I think they call it conjugal rights. Okay, conjugal rights. Where in the deeds it actually mentions the husband. It says married to. It doesn't give me ownership, but it does give me something pretty close to ownership rights. Anyway, so what I'm saying to you guys is you could come out here and do not buy. No, do not buy when you first come out here, because you may not like the area you're in. You may not like the country. But I'm telling you, the Philippines is a warm, welcoming country. It is one of the only countries that I know of, and I haven't been in a lot of different countries. I've been to Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia, but Mexico. But listen, smile at them, they'll smile back. Even if you don't smile at them, they'll smile first. They're just warm, welcoming Filipinas, okay? They're warm, they're welcoming, and the country itself is a welcoming country. They encourage tourists. You can spend your money here. They love it. Come on out. It's not just about the money. As long as you bring value to the country, it's all good. Just being a problem for the country, and eventually you do enough of that for long enough, they're probably going to want to deport you. So just keep it tame, keep it respectful, and just know that, look, when you start out from ground zero here, they do welcome you. Okay, so we all try to keep it that way and respect the fact that we're always guests here. I don't care what kind of visa you had, and I keep saying this in a lot of my episodes, but I've got a permanent residency visa. Blah, but I can't talk. I have a permanent residency visa, the SRV, but it doesn't matter. You guys can have your 13A, your marriage visa. If you're married, you came out here and got married. You can have a tourist visa, and you're good for basically 3 years on that. You know what I mean? You just keep having to go to the Bureau of Immigration, and you could do. But listen, the point is you can't just come out here and not be of any value to the country. You got to be kind, be respectful, that sort of thing. So as long as you're doing that, you'll reap benefits. You'll reap a lot of benefits. I reap benefits every day. I wake up in the morning and I look out our living room plate glass and I say, wow, I'm here. I made it throughout all the ups and downs. And yeah, there were a lot of downs, and the ups were really sweet, because Michael's live stream I was just watching in that Philippines life, I don't mean to keep plugging him, but he's got a good channel, I must admit. He said himself, you don't know the ups until you experience the downs, and it just makes the ups a lot sweeter, and it does for me. There is no perfect place on earth, and all of you believers know that. Okay, I don't care pretty much what religion you are, and that's the other thing here. There's a lot of practicing religions out here. Christian, Catholic, Mormon. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but anyway, again, and that just is the cornerstone of the Philippines, where it's still freedom of choice, it's still freedom of speech. They embrace you, whether you're Christian, Catholic, atheist, whatever you may be as far as your beliefs or non-beliefs. You're still welcomed here. You're still welcomed here. So, do we have an area where foreigners can all hang out together? Of course, just like in the States, there's, there's Koreatown, there's Chinatown in LA where I was born and raised, not in Chinatown, but in LA. My previous wife and I used to go to Chinatown in LA a lot because we would enjoy a lot of the Asian style food there. So there's a lot there. So as I'm walking, I wanted to show you here. Looks like they're burning. I don't know if they're burning trash over there or not. Oh, I guess they are. Let me get over there if you can see. Can you see that from here? I think you can. Let me see. I don't think I can. Yeah, you can see it over there. Yeah, there you go. There's our neighbors. Actually, that's the next parcel over from us. Our parcel, you guys, is a half a hectare. And I'll put it on the screen what that equals to like acres, or it's not even 1 acre. I want to say it's a half an acre, close, a little under, but I'm not really sure. So, but I'll put it on the screen anyway. So, yeah, it's and that's where I was talking about these 7 parcels that are actually over here, above this, on the other side of this fence. Okay, they span from where our entrance gate is there, right? And then they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. It ends about there. And there's going to be a road there with a turnaround and all that stuff. So, yeah. So we have those priced to, hopefully sell pretty quickly. We're, no big rush, but they are priced to sell quickly for people who can afford and share these beautiful views, share the rice fields, share the ocean, which is just literally, it's walking distance through there down the road. We're not far from the ocean at all. Probably, I would say maybe a 12-minute walk, maybe a little less, a little more, but something like that. So, it's an opportunity. We were blessed enough to get this land for a really super good price because, again, it's in the middle of a rice field. There was not a road to it. You had to walk to it. We were fortunate enough to have the funding, ourselves to do the private road and get it to our property here. That was the very first thing we knew we had to do before anything else. We didn't, figure out, well, what kind of house we're going to do, where we're going to place the house. None of that mattered until we got to make sure we have enough money to get the road here, because we have to start in the proper spot, which is the road, the access, right? So yeah, we're about 800 meters in from a national highway. About 300 meters of that road was already there, okay? And it was donated to the barangay in here. So we thankfully had that to start with to use. And then the other, I guess 500 meters we then built, we had built, we didn't do it ourselves, but we had it built. So in fact, the architect that engineered it and we contracted to build the road, he's the one that is doing the subdividing and everything of the 7 parcels. So because there's 7, there's not 8, there's 7, and the whole development is under 10,000 hectares, right? Which, again, I don't know exactly what that is in acres, but you qualify for these exemptions in the Philippines, where if they're small subdivisions, like sometimes they're just for families, like people have a lot of, big family, they might give each parcel away, but they want to subdivide it. But if you want to sell it to the public, actively list it, sell it, and do all that stuff and have those benefits that come along with a subdivision development. Now, 7 parcels is not you think, oh, that's not a development, that's not a subdivision. Well, it technically is, it's very small, but that's why they give these exemptions, So where they'll exempt the bond, possibly, as long as they approve it, they'll exempt, getting a bond on the subdivision, because it's only 7 parcels. And there's just a lot of other perks and benefits that you get to it. So we want to do this right. And what we're doing is we're selling the very first lot, which is the prime one. It's a little bit larger, because 150 square meters is the average size. But that's actually, I shouldn't say the average size. That's the minimum size. You know, some of them are 160, 180, whatever, depending on the shape, right? But they're not some crazy oddball shape. They're basically almost square. They're just that the extra parts over the 150 square meters are little irregular shape, which, you know, is so you could put a house on them. You can do whatever you want, really. So we finally listed one, the very first lot, and we're allowed to do one. We can list one in, you know, as long as we do it properly, we do it within the policies, and, you know, and stay compliant, which we can. It's just one lot, so we didn't have to get the subdivision approval to sell one of our lots. So again, you know, we listed it for under 300K pesos, for under 300,000 pesos, which, you guys, that's in US dollars, that's next to nothing. But for someone coming out for a second home, or, you know, like a rest home, a farmhouse, a retirement house, it's incredible. I'm going to show you on the screen here what kind of a home can be built, and you're going to see the actual views that you would have from these homes. Now, I know I put this on, I think, in one of my episodes before, possibly, I'm not sure. And then we're going to asphalt the entrance road, the whole 800 meters of the road, right up to the driveway of the house. So houses out, or parcels, land size that don't have to be big. And you can see that you've seen a lot of subdivisions that are beautiful. So again, if you're coming out to the Philippines to retire, you already know it's your destination. You can find something in subdivisions if that's what you want. You know, if you're used to living in a subdivision, a very organized, you know, everything is tailored and groomed and, you know, just laid out really, you know, to the maximum where people can get enjoyment. There's a community pool. There's plenty of that here. You can do that. But these are very unique in the sense that, and there's others, although one of the features is, and again, I said I'm not plugging these, but I don't mean to try to, I'm not selling you guys on this. I'm just explaining to you, if you decide to retire in the Philippines, these are the kinds of properties that are out here, okay? With ours, it's interesting because there's not a lot of 150 square meter parcels, you guys. Those are very rare for that size that are affordable. Those you will find in subdivisions. Now, the ones in the subdivisions, yeah, I haven't seen any less than 500,000 to 1 million pesos. You know, they're in there. They're very expensive, and you have to, of course, you know, you've got your I don't know what they call them. I know they're homeowners dues. You guys in the States know what I'm talking about, but you know, so you've got that every month. Yeah, we don't have that stuff here. Our parcels are not that expensive. They're not bank financed. They're easy to get into. They're owner financed. Okay, so they're financed by us, and so that's the good thing. But you know, you'll have a road, nice asphalt road to your property. No, there's no community pool. No, but there's community views. And as you can see, they're beautiful views. And my wife and I enjoy these views whenever we're home, you know, and they're just it still amazes me because I used to live in a town called Calabasas, California, okay? And it's right next door to Malibu. So, which I know has had a share of tragedies with the fires and things like that. But that town it's tinsel town for the wealthy. Malibu is, you know, and Calabasas, I originally started in Calabasas in the 1980s. So things were like, you know, very, very inexpensive. Nobody even knew where Calabasas was, but I was fortunate and blessed enough to do some small time real estate development out there and build up in the Santa Monica Mountains in that area there. So, you know, but it's different. Okay, you guys, out here it's different in the sense that you don't have the expenses that you normally would out there. So if you only have 1,000, 1,500, 2,500 a month to retire on, okay, how much does it really cost to retire in the Philippines? And to be safe, you know, YouTubers will tell you, well, that depends how you want to live. Sorry, guys, but I have to agree with them on that one. It does depend on how you want to live, but not just that. Because, again, I told you time and time in our episodes, we're on a minimum pension budget. okay? So we do other things to augment our income. And they've just recently started to get a little bit of traction, you know, to take off. We still have a daughter in a private university in the Manila area in college, and you know things aren't cheap. She's got an allowance every month. You know, she's got an apartment rent, which we rent an apartment out there for her. Of course, it's our apartment too. We can, you know, we go there and stay there whenever we want with her. But yeah, it's not cheap. As you know, the families out there, the parents out there, you know, sending our children to college is not cheap, especially in the United States, because originally that's where she was going to go. She was going to go to a faith-based college in Texas, and I forget what town it was, or I'm sorry, what city it was in, but it was somewhere up in the mountains. It was very beautiful. But yeah, I was telling her, you know, okay, you know, we almost were going to send her there. This was almost 3 years ago, right? And then I looked and I said, wow. I told my daughter, I'm like, hey, can you imagine if we would have sent you there? That college in pesos was about 1.4 million pesos a year, you know, for 2 semesters. So, shoo, that was expensive. But I'm glad she decided to stay in the Philippines because there are some really good colleges here. And so if you're coming out here with a family, still, which mostly we don't, you know, expats that come out here, or foreigners that come out here and convert to expats, as I should say, right? You know, we're mostly in our 60s, maybe even 70s, and you know, our children are grown. So, but that's okay. There might be a few of you watching that's not the case. So, in any event, yeah, schools out here are reasonable. Private universities are reasonable, so I can't really complain too much because it could have been a lot worse. But on a minimum pension, yeah, the pension doesn't really fit into that box. It doesn't really support. It's a good pension for a single guy not wanting to live some extravagant life. So that's why it's important. If you're coming out here, if you do have, you know, remote work that you can continue on, or look into remote work and augment your pension. If your pension's not that high, you know, it's only $1,000 or $1,500 or $2,500. Look, if you're coming out on $2,500, you guys are fine. I don't even want to say that, because you guys are fine. You'll be fine. You won't be giving up a lot of comforts in life. Okay, so if that tells you a lot, $2,500 in the United States, Canada, yeah, yeah. We have to give up a lot of comforts for that amount of money, right? Here, it's the complete opposite. So now, if you're coming out here on 800, yeah, that's a rough one, you guys. That's a rough one, but you can do it if you're maybe just you and your wife, or, you know, or if you're single, if you're widowed, you know, you can do it. You can do it, but just be prepared. You are not gonna be going out to eat all the time and doing all this stuff. So $1,000 a month, well, it's not much different, but it is. I mean, you be a little more comfortable. You'll be a little bit more comfortable. But if you're only coming out on $1,000 a month, which I consider to be a minimum budget on a pension, it's probably a good idea if you can line up some extra work, whether it's remote or just anything, online teaching, you know, something to where you're not going to be so pressured and strained. Okay, you know, I waited a long time to do that, and I made that mistake. I waited too long to line up deck because I was very comfortable. We came out here with you know, with fairly a good chunk of money, not a good chunk of income, so to speak. Even though I was retired from the healthcare, it did have a short-term monthly pension, but it was short-term. But it did, you know, I was able to cash out on that. So we had a little bit of money, you know, enough money to go ahead and buy these properties and build these homes, and which now we've liquidated. We've liquidated all of our. We had 2 homes left that were still is in the process of liquidating. You know, you may have you may remember I mentioned them on a few of my episodes. So one is our main home that we thought we were going to be in the rest of our life, which is deep in the province. And the other one is the home for my father-in-law, my tatay, because we moved him 2 lots over to his caretaker, and we got him, we built him a little place in the back there, so she can still continue to take care of him. And then that's when we put his property up for sale, and it sold quick because we know it's very rare. You won't make money on properties here like that. You can't flip places here like that. We were fortunate enough to get what we paid for the property, and that's pretty much what we got. The house we built for him on there, yeah, it was pretty much, I hate to use the term, but a throwaway house. It was a throwaway house, but that's okay because he lived in it for 2 years, rent free. So, yeah, I told my wife, you got to take that into consideration. You really do. You have to take that into consideration. Now, the other house, we are almost there with documents. We had it waited for our money now. We're going in month 8. And we do collect a monthly on there, but it all goes toward the principal sale amount. So the buyers are living there basically rent free, but they're on a contract to sell. And that basically what they're paying us every month covers our daughter's rent, who's in college right now. So that's a blessing. It covers that. We don't have to take that out of our pension, but she has utilities. She has allowance. She has tuition. She has books. She has unexpected expenses that come up, things like that. So, but again, the bulk of it was her rent and tuition, and the rent's covered through that. Now, we should be collecting the balance on that house, which is a fairly substantial amount, soon here. So I'm hoping, and I'm looking forward to that, because it's not like it's going to give us a lot of extra money. It's not. We already have it planned. We are going to deposit that into her college fund to make sure that her tuition and books are paid until year 5 when she'll be graduating. Because yeah, you can't keep hitting your minimum pension with college tuition. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So again, I made a mistake. I waited too long. So, but in any event, I will readily admit to my mistakes. Okay, I will readily admit to my mistakes, in hopes that you guys don't make the same ones. People share their mistakes with me, and I don't want. It's like I don't like to take pleasure in people's screw ups or ups. You know what I mean? But a lot of people do. They oh yeah, I'm so happy because I'm so lonely and depressed that I hope this guy, he breaks up with his wife and da 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 da. I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about other people when they watch these expat channels. Are like, oh, him and his wife just seem so happy. That just makes me sick. Well, okay, that's everyone's right to feel that way, right? You can't tell people what they can feel, but I've learned at 64 now that it's better to be happy for them, because that could, just as easily be you if you're not happy, right? Don't we want, a strong relationship? Don't we want a home to call our own? And don't we want to live somewhere where we don't have to worry about how we're going to pay the mortgage because our house is paid off, Yeah, we would want that. So don't be haters on people. Because no, their life's not perfect. They don't have a perfect life. Believe me, their wife, they argue. The husband and wife argue. The kids give them problems if they have kids. Maybe they're in a property they cannot afford. They don't own it. They're paying rent. There's a lot of different factors that play into that you may not know about. So, but again, don't take pleasure in people's pain. It's just not. It's not going to serve you well, okay? It just won't serve you well. I'm not sitting here trying to preach to you because I used to. I'm telling you this because these were mistakes that I made when I was younger, right? So I'm not, by no means am I preaching to you. Please, don't get me wrong. The Lord dealt me a lot of downs. I went through a lot of downs. And maybe you have. Put them in the comments if you want to share. Don't share too much, but I'm just saying. yeah, for us, when we go through downs, it really makes the ups, like I said, and like Michael even said, sweeter. It really does. So, look, you guys, come out to the Philippines. I'm going to give you more videos of what it's like, and I'm going to keep feeding you those videos because I know a lot of you want to know. You know, you want to know. You don't want it to all be so structured and go to a consultant. You know, I'm not selling consulting services. You know, you could email us anytime and we'll be more than happy to give you a lot of good information that a lot of the YouTubers will give you. We're not charging for it, you know, we're not, and I mean, some do, but they, I guess maybe they make it a business, or again, they augment their income through stuff like that. But no, we're not doing that. Just subscribe to our channel and watch our videos and throw up a couple likes in there. You know, that's all we ask, really. So, all right, you guys, well, I'm going to let you go. I would say it was a tailgate talk, but I didn't sit down on the tailgate once. So, all right, you guys, have a good night. I'm going to head in because it is starting to rain. You can hear.
Well, the pop stars are weeping, the rappers are crying, their platinum records gathering dust, slowly dying. 'Cause country's the flavor, the craze of the day. Even Bieber's wearing a 10-gallon